Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I see we've got lots of folks joining, so we're just going to wait another minute or two here, and then we will get started.
Seeing lots of familiar names, which is awesome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. We're going to go ahead and get started. We know that it's a busy time on campus, so we want to be respectful of your time. So thank you all so much for joining us. Just want to make sure, like I said, that this is a very good use of your time. So we know that you're really busy right now on campus, and we really appreciate you being here. I'd just like to start off with a few housekeeping items for everybody. Just want to make sure that y'all can hear me and see us. And also just a heads up that your audio and video are turned off by default, so you don't have to worry about us seeing you or hearing any background noises. But we do want to hear from you. We definitely want to hear your questions and make sure that this is interactive. And so if everyone could just go ahead at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button. If you can just click that and try typing in a message to us in the Q&A or the chat, and just let us know that you're here and where you're coming from, which institution you're representing. We'd love to see who we've got here. Wonderful. So we've got Iona from Oregon Tech and Kathy from BCIT, Shaban from BCIT, Martha from Crown College, Michelle from Santa Rosa Junior College, Chris from Minnesota State Mankato, Steph from Palmer College of Chiropractic, Katie from Hanover College, Frank from Golden West College, and many, many more folks here. So thank you all so much for joining us. We're really excited to see all of you. Also, if you have a chance, as you're thinking about the webinar today, if you could just message us and let us know if there's anything specific that you're wondering about or curious about that you'd like to make sure that we cover in today's webinar that for you to walk away with. We'd love to hear that. That way we can make sure we touch on it in our time together today. So we are coming to you from our homes. Ready, we have gone all remote. So we've got three presenters here today. So I am Leanna Lasky-McGrath, our VP of Customer Success, and I'm coming to you from Dallas, Texas in my home. And we've also got Terry Higgins talking a little bit later, our Senior Campus Success Consultant, coming to you from Montreal. And we've also got our CEO, Gary Fortier, coming from Boston, Massachusetts. So this is an international group here today, and we're very excited to be here with you. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Gary.
Thank you very much, Leanna. Welcome, everybody. I would have hoped that my introduction to most of you would have been under different circumstances, but thank you very much for joining us today. As Leanna said, I'm calling in from Boston, and we are represented, I think, around North America here today. So great turnout, and really appreciate you being here. My name, as she said, is Gary Fortier, and I joined Ready less than 2 months ago. And what really brought me to come join this amazing team is that I saw the passion with which everybody cared so deeply about student success and engagement. And I saw that our solution was uniquely positioned to really help drive that on campuses around North America. And it is something that we care deeply about, so we really appreciate the opportunity to chat here today. Clearly, when we were building the platform and thinking about the plans for 2020, we never envisioned the COVID-19 pandemic. and that application for how our platform could really help all of you. But here we are, and we are incredibly committed to helping you maximize the effectiveness of everything within the product, and making sure that we give you every tool available to help you really help your students succeed. My wife's in higher ed, and I've been watching from, well, one room in the house, well, she's in another room in the house, as Northeastern's gone through exactly the same things that many of you are. Where are students going to live? How are they going to get home? What about their courses? Can we move to online? What about commencement? There's a million things going on right now. And if we can play a part in helping you bridge that gap from normalcy to at least something that is satisfying and helping to drive your student success, we are absolutely committed to making that happen. Terry's going to share a number of tips and techniques over the course of this webinar around how you can do that. Leanna and her entire team absolutely stand by, ready to partner with you as they have in the past, and even more so going forward, to ensure that you're successful, and most importantly, that the students are engaged and successful. As during this conversation, as you've already heard, and throughout, please let us know how we can help you. I have a product and software background. I love to hear from customers about how we can deliver better value in an easier to digest way to deliver all the results we're all trying to do. So again, thank you very much for being here today. Terry's now going to lead you through the rest of the webinar, starting with a very quick one-question poll. Terry?
Great. Hi, everyone. This is Terry Higgins, coming to you live from my house in Montreal. I can see a lot of my campus partners on the line, which is awesome. And I know the rest of the consultants are really excited to have their campus partners joining us today as well. So we're going to kick off with a quick poll. We just really want to know, at this stage in the COVID-19 situation, how effective has your campus app been during the crisis? We hope extremely useful, but we really want your honest answers here, so we can do our best to support you during this time. So 3 options there: extremely useful, marginal, or we are not using it. So we'll just take a minute for those poll results to come through. And Marty, you can just let us know when they're ready. Cool. I can't see the poll results on my screen. I'm not sure if I'm meant to be, but if someone else on the line can, please let me know. Okay, awesome. So we've got some results. So, you know, most of the group finding the app extremely useful, some marginal, and some not yet using it. So I hope that what you learned today will maybe change that, as hopefully you take away some of the features that can be most useful during this time.
For sure. And Terry, I just wanted to add, we had a message in from Robert at OU saying just marginal since it's spring break and no students are around right now. So hopefully that increases as they come back, and we'll set you up for success today with some tips and tricks.
Awesome. I know Robert well, so we're going to change that. Excellent. Okay, so first things first, I want everyone to think about their campus cloud team settings. There will be some master administrators in this webinar group today. So if you have time today or tomorrow, I would encourage you to pop into Campus Cloud team settings and just make sure that critical administrators on campus have access to do the things they need to do. So some departments to think about: the health center, counseling services. Can those folks come in and post to the wall? Can they answer a student's question? Can they send a push notification? Also thinking about residence life. For those that do still have on-campus communities, are your RA team or residence life team able to get in touch with folks? Academic team members, same thing. Can they post to the campus wall? Can they make edits to certain tiles? And finally, and especially as we move towards online courses, can your IT team access Campus Cloud to send out notices about technology, learning management systems, so on and so forth? So really just a reminder to log into team settings and make sure everyone has the access that they need. Next slide. So the first section today, we're going to look at how to inform your community. And I know a lot of these things will be second nature for some folks in this group, but some reminders and some campus examples, you know, to maybe spark some new ideas. So next slide. First thing to think about is featuring tiles, and a really simple, nice way to do this that we've been seeing our campus partners really utilize is using in-app web links through Studio. So if you've got a campus website specific to COVID-19, you can come into Studio and just mobilize that in a featured tile. So you can see this example from the University of Indianapolis. There's a really nice mobile-friendly COVID-19 website. There's lots of questions coming through.
Yep, keep going, Terry.
Okay,
I'll stop.
cool. Perfect. Okay, another type of featured tile. I'm happy to showcase this example from my friends at Warren Wilson. You can use Studio to actually set up service-based resources. So you can see here what Warren Wilson has done is they still have a COVID-19 entry point, but they're using our Campus Cloud services to set up specific topics: feeling stressed, counseling center, financial aid updates, and so on. So you can do this through managed services. And if you find it a little tricky or need some support, feel free to reach out to your consultant. Next, please. Another great way you can leverage featured tiles right now is through service groups. And something I've been seeing a lot of campuses do lately is set up a service group with a wall enabled specifically for IT services. As you all know, we've got this campus wall functionality where students can ask questions and administrators can post resources. This is a great way to keep that topic isolated. So if you want to create a space just for ITS or maybe just for an academic service, you can do so by enabling membership on your service and putting it as a featured tile through Studio. So again, if this isn't something you've done before, your campus success consultant is going to be more than happy to help you set that up. Okay, so moving on a little,
Really quick, a quick question is, how do we create a featured tile? Under Studio, I see branding and app experiences, but don't see anything about featured tiles. Question from Shelley.
Great question. So Anjay, if you can just go back one slide. Okay, so this is a little difficult with screenshots, but if you just head forward one slide, please. Okay, so under Studio, you are going to see a window before this where you can add a tile. And there's going to be a section available that is hard-coded into Campus Cloud where your tile will be featured. If that's Shelley from Texas A&M, perhaps drop Kristen an email. She'll be able to get you a screenshot over of exactly where you can find this. But here on my screen right now, you can see the featured section. So if you create it there, then your featured tile is going to be on the carousel and featured in the home screen.
Perfect. Thank you, Terry. And one quick question a little bit earlier, what about those who have recently have not yet reached the level of integration? So maybe currently running out of a single office at the time. Okay, so when you say integration, do you mean system integration? So haven't got academic information flowing through the app automatically? I shared all of the question at the moment. If it was anonymous, so if the person who wrote it would like to add any clarifying information, that would be helpful. And then why don't we go ahead and yeah. And I'm going to come to the academic recommendations soon as well, if that helps. Great. Thanks. Okay, perfect. So next slide. Excellent. So something that frequent app users would have noticed is that on the top right-hand side of your campus app, there's a little safety shield. What some of you might not have known is that this is customizable. When we launch your app, generally we fill this up with pertinent campus safety information and phone numbers. So something we'd recommend right now is actually editing that to include
the Healthline, the COVID-19 helpline, or any other, I guess, health lines or helplines that you have on campus that you want to showcase. It's a little bit more complicated to edit this. Basically, this lives under manage in a service that's likely going to be called campus safety or campus security. So if you want to edit the information here, which you can also add hyperlinks, you can do that through services, campus safety or campus security. And if you want to change where that particular button is pointing, then you can also do that under Studio Edit Experience. Once again, as with everything you see today, if there's something that you're still a little confused by, please reach out to your consultant. They're on the line listening in, but I know they'll have their inboxes in front of them as well. Awesome. So something else I just wanted to remind folks about is our campus cloud locations. So this is hiding under manage locations, and it's where the kind of base locations for your campus map are housed. Something that folks might not know is that you can actually create your own categories. It might not be the time for this right now if your campus has gone remote, but something you could think about doing for future scenarios like this is perhaps creating a category indicating health services, maybe emergency phones on campus, and just really thinking about some of those location categories specific to your campus site. Something else you can do in locations is adjust the hours. So right now, any campus that is still on campus has likely reduced some of its hours, or perhaps even closed some locations. So Campus Cloud Locations is going to allow you to come in and actually change some times, maybe close some days off. So just something to think about if you do have some sort of temporary hours going on at some locations right now. Excellent. So here at Ready Education, we've also put together a CDC-based COVID-19 module created by our awesome campus training specialist, Anjay. So this is quick deploy. If you're crazy busy right now and you'd simply like us to deploy something into your mobile app for CDC information about COVID-19, we can do that today. So please drop your campus success consultant a line and they can push this into your campus guide whenever they receive your email. Cool. The next topic I'm going to cover is really focused on the campus wall and this idea of leveraging the campus wall during a time of crisis.
Terry, before you move on, a question just came in. And just a reminder, please keep the questions coming. We're getting some great questions. We'll save some for the end, but some that are relevant as we go makes sense. So Terry, how can we review this module ahead of deploying in the app?
That's a great question. So there's a couple of options here. If your campus has a test environment enabled, we could deploy it in there for you to review first. That could be one option. Another option, if you don't have a test environment set up and you don't want one set up, is that your consultant could do a short screen recording to show you exactly what that looks like. In fact, if there's any consultants listening, why don't we go ahead and do that? Record a review so that anyone that doesn't have a test environment has the ability to look at that module quickly.
Great. And there was a question, is this session being recorded? Yes, it is, Ellen. So you will receive the recording after this session is finished. And then also another question is there a Canadian version of the COVID module?
Great question. So I believe something's been developed in line with the Canadian government information standards. So thank you for pointing that out, and we'll make sure we get that available to folks as well.
Great.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Great. I hope you're all following along with my accent. Feel free to ask me to repronounce words if you need me to. Campus wall. So the campus wall serves some amazing features. Right now, what we're seeing is a lot of campuses really leveraging this as a place to disseminate information. You can see an example here from my friends at St. Augustine's University, and some other examples in here, really utilizing the hyperlink function to get important documentation and resources in front of students in a place that we know students are looking. So some good examples here. You can also see in our third screenshot, this particular campus, this message came from a specific department. So again, when we're thinking about those permissions, this is why. So that if campus recreation has a specific note, they can get that out on behalf of campus recreation. Next slide, please. Campus Wall is also a great place to keep community communicating, is that the verb for community, at a time when we've moved to a remote campus. So here are some really lovely examples that I discovered over the last couple of days. This first one on the left, this is a resident assistant who had created a social distancing flyer and shared that out with the wider campus. And then the second example on my screen, there's a question that's come through from a student about graduation, and you can see here that the Dean of Enrollment has replied in their official capacity. Again, I can't stress enough the need to review your team settings right now. The ability for these individuals to reply and interact on behalf of their departments comes down to those permissions in Campus Cloud. So please check those out. Peer-to-peer connectivity. So it might be nice to remind your community that even though they're not physically in front of one another, they can still keep friendships alive and remain connected at this time. This is a staged example, but an example nonetheless. Perhaps a student's looking to form an online study group. Campus Wall would be a great place to ask that question. So just thinking about reminding your community of the different ways that this wall can work for them during this time. And finally, with respect to Campus Wall, really thinking about Campus Wall for announcements. So something folks might not be aware of is that we can actually integrate different types of feeds directly into Campus Wall. This is kind of a new tool, which we love seeing in action. So you can integrate either an RSS feed or an Atom feed. You can do this through Campus Cloud, Campus Wall section, through Add Integration. And you can see an example on my screen here. We have pulled in the URL for the CDC RSS feed. So what's really nice about this is you can choose your channel, you can create a channel name, and you can add an image. So in this example, it's CDC. We also see this used for things like campus Twitter accounts. I know I've got Michelle from Santa Rosa on the line. I think she's done this today. We can add in your campus news announcements from your website or maybe a campus blog. So just things to think about. I've got a note from my friend Robert at University of Oklahoma. It took me about 2 minutes to add a new featured item to link University of Oklahoma's COVID information feed. Very easy. Thanks, Robert. It's like we prepared this earlier.
Thanks, Robert. Also, real quick question before you move on to the next section here, Terry. We have a question from Debbie. Since the recommendations for COVID-19 are changing so rapidly, will the content change as CDC recommendations change?
Great question. So the individuals that created our module, I believe are reviewing it daily to ensure that the message is up to date. And that will auto update through the URL through which we add the tile. So that's a really great point, Debbie. Thank you for prompting me to address that. I will say though, this is another benefit of an RSS feed because it is going to keep those updates coming through as they occur. Cool. Okay, so the next section here is on communication. So Oh, sorry, I'm just having some sound issues. So the things I'm going to talk about are push notifications and audiences. So if we can just skip ahead. So most of you will be aware that there are push notifications available to certain folks with certain permissions through Campus Cloud. So you can do that by hitting notify under the Campus Cloud menu. So there's a few different types of things you can do with push notifications. Firstly, as you can see on the right of my screen, you've got 3 notification types: regular, urgent, and emergency. So what we're seeing lately is urgent be the notification type that campuses are using at this time. And you can see in my screenshot below what those notifications look like as they come through. Next slide. Okay, audiences. So one thing you may or may not have been aware of is that in addition to sending push notifications out to an entire campus, you can also choose a specific cohort. And this is really useful if you want to get, for example, a message out to a particular residence group, or to your campus leader group, or maybe to even staff, which I'll come back to soon. So you can do this in 2 ways. Some folks on the line may have dynamic audiences set up, meaning that we're pulling that audience group directly from your student information system. If you don't have that set up, there's still a very quick and easy way for you to create your audience today. Under audiences, if you have the specific permissions, you will be able to upload a CSV file directly into the audiences system. What this is going to do is it's going to cross-reference name and email, which are the CSV field requirements, with registered app users and create a group. So if you have 100 residents in Hall 3, but only 85 of them have the app, then that audience is going to be those 85 individuals. It's another great reason to actually make sure that all your students do have the mobile app, especially at times like this. We want to make sure they're getting those important messages when they're sent out. Okay, next slide. Awesome.
And one question on that section, Terry, if students have their push notifications turned off on the app setting or in their phone settings, will push notifications still work?
Great question. So I believe there are some device specifics, but generally the rule of thumb is if you send out a regular push notification, it requires notifications to be on at both phone level and app level. If you send urgent, it still requires you to have the notifications on at phone level, but will override app level. And emergency still requires phone notifications to be on and will push through app notifications with a stubborn, large red notification that the student is forced to hold down on for, I believe, 4 seconds to dismiss.
Great, thank you, that's helpful. Obviously we can't override the student's phone settings, but good to know about that. Thank you, Terry.
Great. I will also mention just briefly, there is a notifications API, and if you're curious about how that works, we do have some documentation, as well as you can reach out to your campus success consultant. So academics, I want to be conscious of your time, so we'll jump into academics now. If you could just change the slide. Perfect. So some of the folks on the line today will have integration set up. And so these screens will look familiar. As part of the merger between Ulala and Dub Labs, obviously we got some great integration capability and the ability to bring in real-time information from different learning management systems and student information systems. So if you are integrated right now, business as usual, students will be able to engage with their courses, grades, assignments, etc. through the mobile app. If you do not have an integrated mobile app right now, but this is something you're interested in, I can't promise it's something we can set up for you this week, but I would encourage a conversation. So please talk to your campus success consultant to look at how we could maybe prepare your app with integrations for the future. If you don't have integrations, there's still a lot of awesome things that you can do. So if we just move to the next slide. It's all about seamless access to your different academic services and portals. So just thinking about things like, is my portal front and center on my mobile app? Do my students have access to their learning management system, either through a tile or even, as you can see in this Youngstown State example on the middle of my screen, we can actually put a learning management system app into our app. So right now it says Leave Ready Education through the developer view that I was in, but for your app it would say Leave YSU, and it's going to open the Blackboard app within the YSU app. So, sorry, that was a lot of words. You can create access to your portal. You could create web access to your learning management system, or you could create a third-party tile access to another learning management system app. So that's something that can be done in Studio. There are some resources available on exactly how to do this in our help center, which I'll come to in a moment. And again, I know the consultants are on the line. So if you want to mobilize access to Canvas or Blackboard or D2L today, they can help you set that up.
And Terry, to the question earlier from the anonymous attendee about, for those who haven't set up integrations, there's still value that we can provide without the integrations, but obviously lots of great uses with the integrations as well, right?
Yes, no, absolutely. So I think, you know, in lieu of integrations, I think what we're seeing is very high traffic through portals and LMS tiles. Again, just making sure that there's that mobile access point for students who are at home right now. Cool, next slide. Something else to think about is creating academic groups. So if you have moved online, maybe you have tutoring or supplemental instruction that takes place. Something to think about is enabling a group focused around an academic subject, allowing students to come in and ask questions and interact with tutors or instructors. Again, some permissions required here in terms of administrators being able to come in and engage with the students in here, but something to think about if you're looking for solutions to conduct some of these tutorial type situations off campus. Peer-to-peer messaging, sorry about that. So as most of you know, as part of our social features in the Ready Education platform, there is the ability for peer-to-peer messaging. So something you might like to remind your students is this is available if folks perhaps are working on an assignment together or just kind of want to remain connected with their classmates during this time. Excellent. And this is the last section for me. So
Terry, just before we get to the last section, I just want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, since we are nearing the end, we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So please just go ahead and continue typing in your questions. We've got lots of great questions and audience participation, so we really appreciate it.
Awesome. So the last thing I wanted to touch upon today is resources for staff. So thinking, you know, right now there is certain messaging we have for staff and certain messaging we have for students. So next slide. So just thinking about mobilizing a section on your app specifically for staff. Now this can be done in two ways. You could create a staff experience, a little bit more of a lofty endeavor right now. But if you are interested in enabling multiple resources for staff, this could be one way to go. You can do this through Studio and create a new experience that requires a staff login. So you could do this. And you can see in this screenshot in the middle of my screen, you know, what that would look like in terms of those different experiences. And on this larger Youngstown State University screenshot here, you can see what they've done is actually created a faculty and staff section within their main campus guide. So this is where, you know, it's resources specifically for staff, but if a student was to stumble upon it, that would be okay as well. So something to think about, even if it's a single tile on, you know, COVID-19 information for staff, something to think about right now. And finally, just back to audiences. We always want staff and faculty to be on the app as well. I think it's just great practice, but it could be time to remind staff to download the app, register with their credentials to ensure that they're receiving critical communication from administration right now. So again, thinking about the audiences tool, if you have a CSV file with the name and the email address of staff, if you upload that to the audience, it's going to cross-reference and show you this is the list of staff with My Campus app right now. This will allow you to do a targeted outreach, reminding staff to download the app, and with those that are already in the audience, allow you to start getting messaging out specific to staff and faculty. Next slide. Finally, we have help guides and frequently asked questions available to you directly through Campus Cloud. So on the right of my screen, you'll see there's a little question mark. That's a drop-down menu where you can come in and check out guides, FAQs. There's a lot of videos in there. So let this be your starting point, but certainly campus success consultants available to you at all times as well. So with that, I guess I'll hand back to Leanna.
Great.
To wrap us up.
Thank you so much, Terry. Lots of really helpful information, and hope everybody found something in there to utilize. Hopefully lots of things that will help your campus community. One last question on that last section there, Terry. Question from Mona at Western is, what if we don't have a CSV file of names? Is there any other way of importing that information?
That is a great question. I believe it does need to be CSV files to be directly uploaded by you, Mona. But if there is a public access point to that information somewhere else, you could send that over to, I think Kristen is your campus success consultant. So you could send that over to Kristen and she can work with our content team to try and get that uploaded for you.
Great, thank you, Terry. Great. So we answered a lot of the questions throughout, and we're getting lots of great feedback coming in that folks have found some helpful information. So thank you for that feedback. One last question, and if there are more questions, please, we've allocated some time for questions, and so please keep them coming. But question is from Greg. That they're ready to submit this to the stores pending executive management approval. Are there any interruptions with either the stores or support during the COVID-19 emergency? I'll speak to the first one regarding support. I just want to be clear that we are here to support you 100% at Ready. We are fully operational during this time. We're remote, but we're here 100% for you. So you should see no interruption in service or support from our end. Terry, anything that you're seeing from the stores, any delays or anything like that from Apple or Google Play?
Great question. So I believe the team submitted 3 or 4 apps to the app stores last week, and there were no interruptions to that process. What we'll do is we'll find that out for sure, and I'm sure we'll be able to see what institution Greg is from and make sure that the appropriate consultant reaches out after this.
For sure, yes. And we haven't seen any or haven't had any official reporting from the stores, but at this time. Also, someone asked about, Delaney asked about sharing the presentation with other colleagues. How soon will the recording be available? It will send actually an auto message or email out to everybody after the webinar, everybody who registered, usually within, I believe within the hour, but it's through Zoom. So as soon as Zoom renders the recording, it will be sent out.
Awesome. I've just heard back. There is no delay on app stores at this time.
Sounds good. And Greg, Hind will be reaching out to you as well. Question from Frank. Hello, Terry. Just created an RSS integration for the CDC COVID-19 updates feed. However, when I viewed it from the student experience, the posts were only subject lines with no ability to click or link to more information. Is that typical with RSS feeds? I really like the idea, but I would like our students to be able to get more information than just the subject line.
You're onto it, Frank. Thanks for testing that out for us. That's a great question.
Love
I'm
real
going to, I believe it pulls in the information associated with the feed. So if there's an image, it will pull the image, so on and so forth. So I think what we'll do is we will test that out at this end with our support team. We'll plug it into a test environment and see what happens. And I'll get back to you later today with that. Thank you for testing that live on the call for us.
Yes, thank you. Real-time testing, I love it. Question from Robert, and I can address this, or maybe Gary can address this. Many companies such as Zoom or Microsoft Teams are currently experiencing load issues as more workers go online for remote work. Is Ready prepared for the load on our systems? Gary, do you want to touch on that, or would you like me to?
Yeah, we absolutely are. We've been talking about it for a little bit. And as Leanna mentioned, we're a pretty distributed company anyways, with Montreal, with DC, with Texas, with Boston, with other folks in different places. So we have been prepped for this in day-to-day operations for quite some time. And B, we did specific testing before we went 100% remote and tested it last week before officially flipping the switch. So we have had no issues. We don't anticipate any issues. We have redundancy and extra capacity. That said, as you said, now that 100% of the world is essentially remote, if unidentified or unanticipated things come up, we will aggressively go after those, but we don't foresee anything.
For sure. We are committed to keeping you up and running as you are embracing remote life, all of our campuses. So it looks like we have covered all of the questions. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us or to your campus success consultant. And just want to, again, thank you all so much for taking time today. I know that it's a busy time and you're probably doing a lot of planning right now. And so we really appreciate you taking some time with us. Hopefully you've found some helpful information. Would love to hear from you if you have anything specific that you are planning to take action on immediately after this call. And if you have questions about maybe how to apply some of the information you learned today for your specific campus, please don't hesitate to reach out to your campus success consultant. We're here for you 100%. We want to be your partner through this difficult time, and just want you to know that we are always available. So please do reach out if you have any questions, follow-up action items that you saw today. So thank you all so much, and we really appreciate your time and hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.